So, did President Cyril Ramaphosa hit the right notes in his State of the Nation address last night? Well, some are saying they didn't hear much they haven't already heard before. Let's unpack the speech with political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng. She joins us now via Skype. Asanda, so there's so many things that people are saying. I just spoke to Kasatu earlier. They're not impressed. What do you reckon?
Well, I think that we're sitting with an issue where the president, as I said even last night, that he's good at giving us a diagnosis, but he's not good at giving us the action plan. And what is really required, particularly because we're in the middle of a pandemic, is what is the plan for getting South Africa out of the situation that we're in? Because not only do we have an economy that is unequal, we have an economy which has been decimated by COVID-19. And what we need is to hear from the president, what is the plan? We know and have tried many times as a country to do infrastructure development, thinking that it's going to bring jobs, but it doesn't. And the reason for that is because the government subsidizes factories, subsidizes people who are manufacturers through their programs. These people do not then take that money and use it to build more jobs. Instead, what they do is they just buy equipment and use that equipment to make more profits while not actually meeting the very requirements for the money that they've received. And so I would have expected the president to speak to, yes, we can do some manufacturing and invest in manufacturing, but how are we going to make sure that this time those incentives don't just end up capitalizing people's firms and people's factories without actually resulting in any jobs whatsoever. And I think also the president has a tendency of throwing out these amazing numbers. And yes, a lot of what he told us has been achieved is good, but he's not telling us how we're going to make sure that the issues that still sit on the table are going to be addressed. We still have issues with an unequal health system. We still have issues with unemployment. We still have issues with lack of housing. We still have issues with lack of water. And all of these issues are not going to disappear because COVID is here. And in fact, COVID has exacerbated them. And I didn't hear much of a plan to make sure that the post-COVID South Africa is going to be a South Africa for all, and is going to be a South Africa that includes all of the different sectors of society.
So let's talk about the COVID-19 vaccination rollout plan for South Africa, because the president went into detail about us securing, 80,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines next week, and then a further 9 million at the end of the first quarter. It seems that our government has accepted that this delayed response in this rollout is good enough, because even the health minister after the speech said that he was satisfied with the way in which the president gave such detail about these vaccines.
I think for me the vaccine one is complicated by the fact that we can't really blame the government for getting a vaccine with such a short expiry date, because vaccines themselves do have short expiry dates because of the nature of what a vaccine is. And also, I don't think we necessarily can blame them for having gone and gotten a vaccine that then turned out to not actually deal with one of the main strands that we have. But what we can blame them for is for paying more money and for not making sure that when they are procuring the vaccine, that they've considered the fact that our strand or our strain may be different to what's available globally. Now, us having a South African variant or strand, as has been called, doesn't mean that we don't have the other sort of normal or globally common strand. And so some of those vaccines that were procured that don't work on the strand, the potential is to use them on the people who have the sort of more generic or general strand. But part of that is going to be then figuring out how do we know which person has which sort of strand, and that's going to take research and that's going to take time, which might then kill us in terms of considerations that the vaccines that we do have end in April. And I think that, the government is really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because there's a vaccines race right now. Every single country, every single economy is trying to get these, because the vaccines are the thing that's going to kickstart the economy and that's going to allow people to get back to normal and back to the kind of production levels that are required for countries to recover. Because you must remember that everywhere on the globe, people are sitting some in long lockdowns, some, even if they're not in lockdowns, parts of the economy are unable to work. Yeah. And so everybody's trying to get the same solution, and it's going to be difficult for any government to be able to get some of what's required. So I have a little bit of sympathy when it comes to the vaccine story, but I have no sympathy when it comes to the lack of proper plans around how the economy is going to be turned around.
Yeah, all right. We're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. Appreciate it. Political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng.